Hello and welcome to my channel. In this tutorial we're gonna do a beginner stitch for you guys, the beginners. So you're just starting to learn how to do this, how to crochet. So for this stitch you're gonna need, of course, some yarn. The yarn is gonna recommend the crochet hook that you should use. It's reversible, this stitch. It's very easy, one row repeat. For those of you that are advanced, please speed up the video, because this one is going to be a slow one. Yeah, for you guys, the beginners, we need to go a little bit slow. Yeah. So if you like this stitch, you can do whatever you like to do. A blanket, a scarf, a hat, whatever you like to do. So we're going to start by making the knot. Well, you're gonna do the knot the way you like. First of all, the way I do the knot, it's I put the crochet hook like this, and then I pinch the tail and the yarn, twist it, and then grab the yarn and pull the yarn through the loop, and then this, you're gonna tie it and it's gonna make a knot. If you prefer some different way to do the knot, that's fine. You do it the way you feel comfortable with. So now we're gonna start chaining. So you have a loop, you grab the yarn and pull the yarn through the loop. So we're gonna do with this stitch even numbers. So I'm gonna chain 10. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. I'm gonna chain only 10 because this is a one row repeat and it's no use for me to put too many chains. Yeah. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna skip the first chain, this one here. In the second chain from the hook, you're gonna go in there and you're gonna do a single crochet. So put your crochet hook through the chain, pull the yarn through the chain, you have 2 loops, then you're gonna yarn over and pull the yarn through these 2 loops. That is a single crochet for you guys, the beginners. So you move to the next chain, introduce your crochet hook into the chain, pull the yarn, you have 2 loops, yarn over and pull the yarn through these 2 loops. And you're gonna do like this in each chain. Move to the next chain and you're gonna do a single crochet. So you have 2 loops, yarn over and pull the yarn through these 2 loops. So after so in each chain you're gonna do single crochet. So the next chain is here, you're gonna do a single crochet. After I show you the stitch, I will show you how to close the work, the last row, if you want to have the same, because we start with a single crochet. And it's nice to finish with a single crochet the last row when you finished your work. So in each chain you're gonna do single crochet. It's a very easy stitch, goes really fast, but you're gonna have to learn how the stitches look, and you will know exactly what to do. If you put your, so the last chain, it's here, we're gonna go in there and we're gonna do the same, a single crochet. Chain 1, you're always going to chain 1 at the end, turn your work. So now in the first stitch here, this one, we're going to go in there and we're going to do a slip stitch. So go into the stitch, you should have these 2 strands of yarn on top of your crochet hook. Pull the yarn through the stitch, you have 2 loops. Now you're going to take this loop and pull through this one, like so. That is a slip stitch. Now yarn over the hook, we're gonna move to the next stitch and we're gonna do a double crochet. So you go into the stitch, pull up a loop, you have 3 loops, yarn over and pull the yarn to the first, these 2 loops. You still have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull the yarn to the last 2 loops, and that is a double crochet. The next stitch we're gonna do a slip stitch. So you go into the stitch, pull up a loop, take this loop and pull through this. loop, yarn over the hook. You're gonna move to the next stitch right here, and you're gonna do a double crochet. You're gonna alternate a double crochet, then a slip stitch. The next stitch, it's slip stitch. So for you guys, a beginner, if you want to practice this, it's really easy. Practice the stitches. So the next stitch is gonna be a double crochet. Pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the last 2. The next stitch is gonna be a slip stitch. So you go into the stitch, pull up a loop, then take that loop and pull the loop through this first one. So yarn over the hook. The next stitch, it's a double crochet. So you go into the stitch, pull up a loop, you have 3 loops, pull the yarn to through the first 2 loops, and then pull the yarn to the last 2. The last stitch is gonna be a slip stitch. So you start with a slip stitch and you're gonna finish with a slip stitch into the last stitch. Chain 1, turn your work. It's gonna look like this. So now the first stitch is here, this one. So you're gonna start with a slip stitch. So you start with in the first stitch, slip stitch, and in the last stitch is gonna be a slip stitch. So you go into the first stitch, pull up a loop, then pull that loop through the one on the hook, yarn over the hook. The next stitch, we're gonna do a double crochet. The next stitch, but when you do the slip stitch, for you guys, the beginners, try to leave this loop a little bit loose, because this is the loop after you do the slip stitch, that the next row that you're gonna have to do the slip stitch, this is the loop that it's either tight or loose. So leave it a little bit loose, go into the next stitch right there, pull up a loop, and then do a slip stitch. You see, this is the loop that next row you're gonna go into. So if it's too tight, you're gonna struggle getting in. So yarn over the hook, move to the next stitch, and it's a double crochet. So next stitch, it's a slip stitch, so leave this a little bit loose. You see, when you pull this one through this one, this is that it's gonna form the stitch, the next row when you're gonna do. So if it's too tight, you might yell at the yarn. So the next yarn over, the next stitch, it's double crochet. Next stitch here, it's a slip stitch, yarn over the hook, you're gonna go into the next stitch and you're gonna do a double crochet. You're gonna alternate one double crochet, one slip stitch, and you're always gonna finish in the last stitch here with a slip stitch, because you started with a slip stitch. Well, this is how this stitch works. Chain 1 and you start again. I'm gonna do this row one more time with you, and then I'm gonna stop. So the first stitch is here, you're gonna do a slip stitch. So you go into that stitch, pull up a loop, and then pull that loop through the one on the hook, yarn over the hook, move to the next stitch, and you're gonna do a double crochet. Next stitch is here. You have to be careful, because this being a slip stitch, it's kind of small compared to the double crochet, so it's kind of tucked, in there. So make sure that you don't miss that. So you do a slip stitch, yarn over the hook, you move to the next stitch, it's a double crochet. Yeah, I think it's a nice stitch to do a blanket, a scarf for you guys, the beginners. Just to play with the stitches, to learn them. So the next one is the slip stitch, yarn over the hook, the next stitch, it's the double crochet. pull the yarn to the first 2 loops, the last 2. Next one is slip stitch. You see, this one is kind of tight. Next time when I have to go to work this stitch, it's gonna be a little bit difficult to get in. So yarn over the hook. The next stitch is double crochet. And the last stitch here is the slip stitch. So you go into that stitch. You see, if you don't make it loose, you're gonna struggle. This one, it's important when you do the slip stitch to be loose a little bit. So you chain 1, turn your work, and then you start again. Because I left it loose, it's easy for me to go in. Yeah. So now let's say you finish your work and you want to close. Some of you might not like the way it looks like here on top. You want the same like how we started with a single crochet. So you're gonna do just single crochet in each stitch instead of slip stitch, double crochet, slip stitch, and so on. So the first stitch is here. You're gonna go in there. You have 2 loops, yarn over and pull the yarn through the 2 loops. Move to the next stitch and you're gonna do a single crochet. And you're gonna do single crochet in each stitch. Don't miss this one, the slip stitch from the previous row. It's so easy to miss that because it's so small. So you move in each stitch, you're gonna do single crochet, and this is the last row that you do to close the work. If you like the way it looks without this row of single crochet, you can leave it like that. It's no problem. It's up to you. So the last stitch is here. You're gonna go in there and you're gonna do a single crochet. Chain 1. You pull up a loop, then cut the yarn, and then you're gonna pull, and that is gonna make a knot. So it looks like this. So if you like, this is 7.0 millimeter crochet hook, the size of the hook. For this yarn, I think it recommends to use 4 or 4.5 millimeter crochet hook, but I wanted to make it with bigger for you, that it's easy to see the stitches when you use a bigger crochet hook, a fat one. So it looks like this. It kind of looks like columns, you know. So if you like this look, you can make something with the bigger crochet hook, if you like, because this is worked with 7.0 crochet hook, but the sample that I made here, this one, it's worked with 5.0 millimeter crochet hook for this yarn, and it's tight, and it's, you know, not quite dense, but it's, you know, I don't know if you can see, if you pull this, stretch it, you can see the columns. Yeah. But you have to stretch it. If you don't stretch it, you'll not, well, somewhat you can see the columns, yeah. But if you work with the bigger crochet hook, there already you can see the columns forming, yeah. So well, give it a try for you guys, the beginners. Play with the stitches, learn, have the, you know, the dexterity, especially with the slip stitch. Sometimes it's not easy for to do that, but yeah, well, just practice and you will enjoy creating something with the crochet stitches. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you for watching. Have a good day. Bye bye.